I just love how explosively delivered this song is. There's so much energy to it. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Molly, and in this video I'm going to be listening to the album Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park. Now, a lot of you have been begging me to dive into Linkin Park here on my channel, so I'm really excited to check this one out. Now, this is Linkin Park's debut studio album. They released this one in 2000, and full disclosure, I know I've heard a couple of Linkin Park songs. I think there's a few on this album that I've heard before here and there on the radio, but the album as a whole I've never heard, and I've never really dived super deep into Linkin Park's music, so yeah, I'm really excited to start off my journey with Hybrid Theory. Alright, so up first is track 1, which is called Papercut. Cool start to that one. They had some like electronic sort of DJ effects almost going on. I like how he's talking about hearing a voice in his head, and there's all this echoiness going on. It's almost mimicking like that second voice that he keeps hearing in his head. There's like this sharpness to this song. Like there's a sort of glitchiness to the delivery of how they're doing these kind of electronic vocals. Yeah, there's just some really interesting effects they're putting in. Like in the background, I keep hearing them. Well, that was track 1, Papercut. I really liked that. It had a sort of like hip-hop-esque quality to it with the vocal delivery on the verses, but then they fused that with sort of this like soaring angelic quality with the vocal delivery toward the end. They were kind of like pairing the two at the same time, which was an interesting mashup. But I'm going to move on now to track 2, which is One Step Closer. This is one of the Linkin Park songs that I know I have heard before, but I'm going to listen to it anyway just because I love it.
Take this anymore. Everything you say to me.
I just love how explosively delivered this song is. There's so much energy to it. That screechiness right there with the guitar right before the chorus comes in, I love it. It almost gives this song like a tiny bit of an industrial flair. Again, with those effects they're doing in the background, it's just adding a cool element to this album. It's kind of giving it more of that nu metal style. That was track 2, One Step Closer. Like I said at the start, that one I've heard several times on the radio, but I just love the explosive energy of it. Like that chorus just comes at you like a punch. And I would say in terms of like genre and just kind of the way they style their music, comparisons can definitely be made to Slipknot. Slipknot kind of brings like this chaoticness almost to their music, and Linkin Park I think kind of polishes it up, and they make it sound really smooth and almost futuristic in a way, which is really cool. But I'm going to move on now to track 3, which is called With You. That was such a weird start with all those electronic noises. I love just like the very slight glitchiness that they keep doing. I don't know, it's kind of giving this track like this dead quality, like the life has been sucked out of him in a way. It's just kind of giving like a coldness to this song. That was track 3, With You. I loved that one, how electronic heavy it was. Like I said earlier, there is almost just this futuristic quality to their music, which is so cool. It's almost like they're fusing nu metal with this really modern style. It's very just streamlined and smooth with its sound. Up next is track 4, which is called Points of Authority.
Forfeit the game before somebody else takes you out of the frame. It just won't last.
I love his voice when he brings more aggression to it. It has this really almost vulnerableness to it that I keep picking up on. Just like he's crying out for something. There's all of these subtle sounds that are going on right now. It almost sounds like you're in outer space or something. More glitching. Well, that was certainly a fun way to end that song, but that was track 4, Points of Authority. That one really highlighted the dynamics that they're using. Like, it was very sudden and sharp transitions between those more pulled in sort of hip-hop style verses, and then they would bring a lot of kind of this expansive sound on the chorus. Like, all of the noise came in, and I love the lead singer's voice too. His voice just has a really clear tone to it, and I like how he can change up his style of vocal delivery so much. But moving on to track 5 is Crawling. Okay, I've heard this one too. They just have this awesome modernness to their tone. I don't know if this makes any sense at all. There's something very sterile about the sound of their music. Like they're in this closed off, futuristic chamber or something, and there's no other outside elements coming in. I love the dynamics on this track too, how that chorus is so intense, and then the verses are very minimalistic sounding. And then it slowly starts building up.
I felt this way before, so insecure, crawling in my skin.
Yeah, his voice has this sort of growliness to it, but it's still very clear at the same time. Well, that was track 5, Crawling. I guess that is yet another Linkin Park song I had heard already, but I love it though. It just has this beautiful intensity to it, if that makes sense. Like the chorus is so brutal and coming at you, but it's really smooth at the same time. They don't really ever lose that sort of beauty in a way to their music. Up next is track 6, which is called Runaway. I love the start of this one. It almost sounds like water bubbles popping or something, that effect they're using. This song is reminding me a lot of the last one, Crawling, how it has these really pulled in verses with a lot of these like electronic things they're fusing on, and then the chorus comes in with more force.
And never say goodbye. Gonna run away, gonna run away. I wanna run away and open up my mind.
Well, that was track 6, Runaway. That one I loved the dynamics on, especially toward the end there where he was going back and forth between that really kind of pulled in, quiet vocal delivery, and then he would just scream. I loved the back and forth of that. All right, moving on to track 7 is By Myself. See, I love how jarring and kind of industrial that percussion was at the start. And it is. It's like they just smooth it out all of a sudden.
But do I trust nobody and live in loneliness? Because I can't hold on when I'm stretched so thin. Getting hurt again by myself. I ask why. But in my mind,
this one has such a punchiness to it on this chorus. It just comes in out of nowhere. These backing vocals are just so intense. That was track 7, By Myself. I loved the layers of that one. Like, I kept picking up on, again, like those really subtle things they were doing in the background. There's just something so calming about the verses on a lot of these tracks. And then out of nowhere, that chorus comes in and it just like slaps you in the face. But up next is track 8, which is called In the End. And this one I have definitely heard before, and I love this one too, so I'm going to check it out.
It starts with
one thing. I don't know why. All I know, time is a valuable thing. Watch it fly.
They love that glitchiness, don't they?
I tried so hard and got so far. It doesn't even matter.
One thing in mind, I designed this rhyme to remind myself how I tried so hard.
Yeah, I love those really sparse notes they keep sprinkling in. I think it's like a type of keyboard that they're using.
I had to fall to lose it all. I put my trust in you.
Yeah, there's a really great smoothness to this song. It's kind of calm in a way, but then it's not at the same time. They bring a lot of energy and aggression to it as well.
Doesn't even matter.
Well, that was track 8, In the End. Yeah, I've heard that song numerous times on the radio, and I really do love it. I love the piano at the beginning and the end, and kind of how they fuse that in throughout the entire track. And it's interesting, too, because I've said how Hybrid Theory has this really futuristic quality to it with their sounds and everything, and that piano really stands out because it kind of has this more like natural, organic quality to it, and there's kind of like a sadness almost to that song. Like lyrically, it's a very dark track, kind of a despondent quality to it. But I'm going to move on now to track 9, which is called A Place for My Head.
Watch how the moon sits in the sky in a dark night, shining with the light from the sun.
I love this bass.
Will I find a place to rest?
I wanna be in another place.
Maybe someday I'll be just like you and step on people like you do.
That guitar is so interesting paired with like this hip hop style. They're very contradicting, and yet it kind of works.
Place for my head.
You try to take the best of me.
Go away! You try to take the best of me.
All right, I got some echoiness now going on here.
I am so sick of the tension, sick of the hunger, sick of you acting like I owe you this. A place to rest.
Well, that was track 9, A Place for My Head. That one, I loved the guitar. It had that flair to it that was so unique. And yet again, just with the dynamics, how they have like this really pulled in sound. It's so contained. And then the chorus comes in with all of this just explosive energy coming at you. And they go back and forth between those qualities of their music so sharply. It's just so sudden. Moving on to track 10 is Forgotten.
From the top to the bottom.
The top I stop.
At the core, I forgot.
Why should I care? There's a place so dark you can't see the end. Skies cocked back, shock at which can't defend.
This one's got almost like a bounciness to it.
In the memory you'll find me.
When the paper's crumpled up, it can't be perfect again. From the top to the bottom to top, I stop.
It's like the chorus comes in and it's like this whirlwind of sound. Like it just is so abrupt. It comes in out of nowhere. I love that beeping.
I'm telling you that I see it right through you. Now you got me caught in the act. You bring the dot back. In the memory, you will find me until the sun rises up.
Well, that was track 10, Forgotten. That one was really fun, just with all of the odd electronic stuff they kept doing. And like I said, it definitely had kind of a more like hip-hop style to it. I mean, this whole album has kind of utilized that, but that track especially, I was just noticing this sort of bouncy rhythm almost that it had. But moving on to track 11 is Cure for the Itch.
Folks, we have a very special guest for you tonight.
Okay, this is an interesting one.
Let's try something else.
This is such an odd song. It's almost like an interlude. There's something about this track that's reminding me of the song Clubbed to Death that's in the movie The Matrix. Just with these trap beats, but then this really beautiful symphonicness overlaid on top. Well, that was track 11, Cure for the Itch. Definitely a different style of song for this album, but that one was really fun. I loved how they made that really melodic there, like roughly halfway through, but then they had that electronic kind of like DJ sampling hip-hopness going on in the background too. But I'm going to move on to track 12, which is the last song on Hybrid Theory called Pushing Me Away.
I've lied to you.
Everything falls apart, even the people who never frown eventually break down. Knowing why I never walked away.
I love how gradually he transitions his voice from this really gentle, vulnerable sound, and then he just will make it more screechy and kind of growly on the chorus.
Falls apart, even the people who never frown eventually break down. Knowing why I never walked away pushes me away.
Well, that was track 12, Pushing Me Away. A really beautiful smoothness to that one, especially on the verses. Like his voice had a little bit more of a gentle quality, kind of a melodicness, and then he brought that amazing power on the chorus, but it just gradually built into that, which I thought was so impressive. And then at the very end of that track, like as it faded out, we still had those electronic noises, like they were still dropping those in very quietly from time to time. Well, that concludes my reaction to Hybrid Theory, the debut album from Linkin Park. This record was such a fun blend of sounds. I wasn't expecting it to be as like electronic heavy as it was. I would say that was probably the biggest surprise for me. It had this really cool like futuristic tone to it almost that I loved, but it still blended that with those great nu metal elements as well and kind of a heavier sound. Track 3, With You, was a standout just because of all of those sounds that they were utilizing. And then track 7, By Myself, brought a lot of punchiness that I loved too. And also track 8, In the End, which like I said, I heard that one already before listening to this album, but that one just had a sort of melodic nature with that infusion of the piano that is just really beautiful. But this whole album I thought was fantastic to listen to. I'm glad I've finally heard this thing from beginning to end. To the extent of my knowledge, every Linkin Park song that I've heard prior to filming this video was on Hybrid Theory. So from this point on, if you guys want me to continue on with Linkin Park's discography, I don't know what any of their other songs sound like as far as I know. So let me know if that's something you want me to continue here in my channel. And yeah, as usual, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned, and I will see you in the next video.